What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is season 14, episode 2. And all I can say is, girl, Kyle, stop being stupid. Like Sutton said, girl, lawyer it all the way up. And Dorit might need to do it too, because PK over her. But let's get into this video. So y'all know sometimes before we get into it, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I just want to talk about the taglines. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't wowed by anybody's. Like they were all kind of like mid, like very like meh. They were lackluster. I think I expected, since they got like a new intro photo, the production seems to be different, that I was expecting like explosive taglines. And what we got, I was just like, oh, these are kind of basic, you know? I think the only one that I really liked was Dorit. But then I'm also looking back at it like, it's the best out of like a mid group. So is it really that great? But let's talk about it. So, first up is Kyle's. Hers is, these hills have eyes and they're all staring at me. Honestly, all this reminds me is the horror movie The Hills Have Eyes. I'm thinking about cannibals, girl, not about the people in your business. Next is Sutton's. I honor my fine Southern manners by putting you in your place. It's too bulky. Don't really like it. Could have came better. Then we have Garcelle's. I've been in the game too long to play by someone else's rules. Yeah, okay, girl. But it's giving like it's like a statement that's commonly used that I'm just like, y'all could have put some zhuzh on it or something. Then you have Erica. In Beverly Hills, money buys a lot, but my independence, priceless. Are you really independent? Because the streets is saying that, girl, you might already got a new sugar daddy and he a lawyer. I don't know how true it is, but that's what the streets is saying. Then we have Bozma. Hers is introducing the greatest product I ever marketed. Myself. I like that it's paying homage to like how she got like, her wealth and like her story, but it lacks pizzazz. I want it to sparkle. I wanted it to be spicy because she seems spicy, she seems fun and confident, and this doesn't really give me that. And then Dorit says, I might look like a doll, but don't wind me up. Out of all of them, like I said, I like Dorit's, but I feel like they should have said, I might look like a doll, but don't play with me. That eats. That I was like, I would gave you, your nines for that one. This is like a solid 7. But yeah, y'all, those are my thoughts. So please drop down in the comments below and let me know which tagline did you like the most or the one that you liked the least. But let's get into this review. All right, y'all. So before we get into this review, I just want to say I hope everybody had a positive Thanksgiving, whether you celebrated with family or with your friends, or if you celebrated by yourself. I hope it was a peaceful day for you. Now, I would be on camera, but when I tell you I feel like I got hit with a bag of potatoes, it's a good thing I got like a C-19 shot before I went down. I low-key probably should have got a flu shot, but traveling with family, me running in and out of like my grandparents' house to my aunt's house to my cousin's house, because they all live on this same huge plot of land. There's 3 different houses. Girl, I'm tired. I'm tired, corralling my little cousins, drinking, just hanging out. And I'm just like, I feel like I ran a marathon, but I wanted to get this review out before, I got backed up with videos. So let's get into it. All right, y'all. So let's talk about it. So the episode opens up and you got the surrealist party still going on while Dorit and Kyle are arguing at one of the tables. You got the rest of the ladies looking like, ooh, it's getting a little heated over there. Jennifer Tilly is like, ooh, they getting hostile. And you got Dorit basically telling Kyle like, girl, grace time is up. Playtime is over. Like, I don't like the fact that it's so easy for you to like ghost me or discard me or try to isolate me when I do something that you're angry about, which I can believe because that's what the Richard sisters do. When Kyle and Kim are cool, Kathy is normally not a part of, like, she's excluded. When Kim and Kathy are cool, Kyle is excluded. You know, when Kathy and Kyle are cool, Kim is excluded. It's like they don't know how to like communicate their feelings, and it's their mama's fault, Big Kathy's fault. So basically, Dorit ends up being like, Kyle, I had an issue with the fact that you said that our 8-year friendship was an exaggeration, that I exaggerated our friendship on that Amazon Live. Then Kyle's like, you know why I said that is because of what happened on BravoCon, Watch What Happens Live, where it was the whole like, which Richard sister do you know, rank the Richard sisters? And Dorit like hesitated. And Kyle was like, that really hurt my feelings. And Dorit's like, girl, it was a joke. Like, stop playing. You know how I feel about you. It was a joke. So then Kyle goes on to say, also, like, you were going around telling people that I cry at a moment's notice, and you knew how like emotionally like fragile I was during BravoCon. And they even show her crying on stage when asked about Mauricio and her marriage. So she was like, for you to go around and telling people that really bothered me. And so Dorita's like smiling in Kyle's face, which I'm not gonna lie, that would have pissed me off. Kyle is just like, why are you smiling? Like, what's for that face? And Dorita's like, just, this is just classic Kyle. This is what you do. This is what you do. And Kyle is getting frustrated. So then Kyle was like, you would think you would be able to give me some grace. Like, it's been the hardest 2 years of my life. And like, have I really been that shitty of a friend? Like, you could really like just bear with me for a minute. And Dorita's like, girl, grace time is over. Grace time is up. Like, I've given you too much grace because you playing in my face now because you think I won't check you, but now I am checking you. So Kyle gets frustrated and she's like, you know what? I'm not doing this with you no more. As Dorit is kind of like yelling at her, and Kyle gets up and she was like, I'm leaving. So Kyle gets up and she goes out to the, front to wait for her car. Dorit gets up. You got Erica and Bozma coming to Dorit like, what happened? And Dorit's telling Erica, you know how I told you, like, she has to take accountability and acknowledge her part in this if we're gonna move forward, but I don't see that happening. That's basically what happened. Kyle acts like she ain't done nothing wrong and I'm crazy, and that's just not it. But I'm ready to go. So Bozeman's like, girl, I'm gonna go get me some more tequila. She sits down with Sutton. Sutton is like, what's going on? And she was like, they just left. And Sutton's like, what you mean they just left? She said, well, I just saw Dorit. Where Kyle? She said, Kyle's gone. So we see Garcelle go outside of the party to go talk to Kyle, like, what happened? She was like, I don't even know what's going on with her. Like, that just seems like an imposter. Like, she's so difficult to talk to. And Garcelle's like, I know she is. But like, Kyle's just like, I'm just over it. I just want to go home. So she gets in her car and leaves. And so does Dorit. So I forgot to mention this while Dorit and Kyle were arguing. Dorit ends up telling Kyle, I think what you're really mad at me about is what I said on Watch What Happens Live last year on TV, where she was like, Andy asked her, since Morgan and Kyle are now friends and their friendship seems to be blossoming, where is y'all's friendship? And Dorit basically said that Kyle pretty much pulled away from her and they're not as close as they used to be. And Dorit was like, I think Kyle is mad about that. And if she could just say, I'm mad at that got me in trouble with Morgan, we could move on. But she won't say it, and here we are. And I actually agree. So the scene ends with Dorit giving her like a phoenix rising from the ashes speech, talking about she's over, she found her voice and she's over being talked over and not speaking up for herself. She's over the friendship and the marriage, and she's here and she's ready, and they need to be ready for her. And then she flicks off the camera. I said, girl, calm down. Calm down. So the next scene we have is of Bozma and her staff going into her workshop. So it's called the Badass Workshop. We find out that Bozma's name actually stands for goddess, which that's beautiful. It's a Guyanian name. And she started these workshops because so many people would ask her, like, how did you get to where you are? She was part of Ebony's Power 100. She was featured in, I think it was Times and Rolling Stone. Like, she's been featured in so many magazines and recognized, like, globally for the CMO that she is. So she's just like, why not start a workshop? She was just like, I retired thinking I was going to be able to kick my feet up. But honestly, I've been working more since retiring. But she likes it because it's like, I'm not answering to nobody else. I'm answering to myself. One thing I got to, Bose, we got to get these wigs together. Because I was already over it with the first confessional. And then you came in with the second one with this updo. And I said, girl, this is hideous. It's hideous. And you make too much money. You already let us know that you're a millionaire. And I don't like it. I don't like them. Even when she was walking around the workshop and they showed how much hair the amount of hair that Bose has in her head, I know her head has to be heavy. And I'm wondering if these are like, they have to just be regular wigs, because I know she has to take them off. I know she has to. The wig that she had at the workshop went all the way past her butt, and she seems like a very statuesque lady. So I know she has at least like maybe rocking like, the bundles have to be at least like 38, maybe 40 inches, because they're long and they look heavy. She needs to take about a good 3 bundles out her head. And then this updo is not it either. But when she was talking to the people that attended her workshop, she was explaining to them how to pivot, like the importance of pivoting and not being afraid. She starts it off by saying that, when her husband got diagnosed with cancer and unfortunately died 3 months afterwards, she was in a meeting after she got PepsiCo the deal to sponsor the Super Bowl. And I think that's when they got Beyonce to perform during that time. He basically told her she hasn't hit enough home runs. And this is after, her husband passed away. So she was just like, I know you lying. So after that, she decided, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. And she pivoted. And she said, these things aren't meant to slow you down, but to tell you can pivot. She talks about how, she wanted her dark chocolate man, but she ended up with a white man that's Italian and a ginger. She said they were total opposites, but they found a way to make it work. She also kind of hates the fact that her daughter, which we get to see, I think she said her name was Laurel or something like that. She's 15. Unfortunately, her dad passed away when she was 4, and she was like, he was robbed of the opportunity to have a relationship with her. And I knew he would have loved it because when she was a baby, he was glued to her. So, she says she still doesn't have the words to like express the feeling of him not being there. And that's sad, because she probably never saw her life without him being there. But I think it's also beautiful that she was still able to cultivate a solid relationship with her daughter, because I think a lot of people think that when like a parent dies, that like your family is supposed to not like, you're supposed to come together, but that's often not the case. Sometimes families fall apart, and even like when it's a child and a parent, and the child is losing a parent and the parent is losing a spouse, it sometimes drives them apart. So I'm happy that her and her daughter seem to have a beautiful relationship, and I'm glad that like she's getting to the bag with these workshops. So the next scene we see is with Kyle and Sutton. And so they're meeting up at this restaurant. I still don't get why Sutton is trying her best to be kind to Kyle when Kyle always takes every moment to shade her. So Sutton lets it be known that she got Botox at the hotel that they're at because, she was trying to get ready for an Oscar party. And she trying to make her face, how you close your eyes and be like, can you tell? And Kyle kind of made a face like, yeah, girl, it didn't work on you. But also when they did the flashbacks to like when everyone last season, which includes Dorit, Kyle, Miss 8.5, and sometimes Erica, that Sutton was an alcoholic, or it's Kyle when Kyle was trying to make it seem like Sutton was crazy and stuff like that. It just really felt like Girl, why would you want to be friends with people who tried to like imply that you might have a drinking problem? But I guess Sutton is just like, she can tell that things are about to get real for Kyle and is trying to help her out because she still cares about her. Production even asks Sutton, so when did you start trusting Kyle? And Sutton is like, who says I trust her? I said, well, okay, I guess you're just trying to be helpful. So while they're sitting there at the restaurant table, Sutton ends up asking Kyle about her purse. And Kyle said, oh, yeah, I got it from Santa Monica when we went on a family trip. And I think Sutton was like, was Mauricio with you? She was like, yeah, it was really nice. Like, we're still really cool and cordial. And Sutton's like, was that your last family trip? And she was like, no, we went to such and such place back in, in April of 2024. And Sutton is just like, girl, y'all are cordial for now until things start to get real. So then Sutton basically says, I really think it's time for you to file. And Kyle kind of looked at her like, why do you think it's time for me to file? And Sutton's like, well, if you file now and you start to acquire things after filing, like, he can't tap into that. But like, one thing that my divorce taught me are men don't like to part with their money. And I can't even fault them for that, because I don't want to part with my money either. If I've amassed a copious amount of wealth, you're not getting it, okay? That's why I've always said, if I ever get married, prenup, prenup, prenup. Because you're not taking my money. You're not taking my house. You're not taking a car. You're not getting nothing from me. And so Kyle's whole thing is like, well, we're really kind and nice to each other. Like, I know we're divorcing, but divorces don't have to be nasty, knock down, drag out fights. Like, we're different. Like, we're not like other people. She was like, that might be like cavalier of me, but we're different. And Sutton is like looking at her like, girl, get you a lawyer and get one fast. And because Kyle's whole thing about getting half of Mauricio's money or half of the real estate company is because he wrote it in a book. And like Sutton said, girl, when forensics gets to like sifting through all of that, they gonna burn that. That book is not gonna mean anything. So Kyle says in her confessional, like, everyone's telling me to file this, file that. It's a lot. I'm overwhelmed. But honestly, the energy that she's giving is like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I'm like, well, girl, you might need to cross it now. So it flips to Bozma's house, which is a very lovely home. It's kind of eclectic in a way with the wallpaper, but it matches her personality. Her backyard is lovely. They have a fire pit, a beautiful pool. Like, it's really nice. So we see her with her assistant. She's getting food ready for Dorit and Erica. They come into her house. She immediately tells them to take off their shoes, as she should. Okay, take them shoes off. So while they're sitting in the bag, they're asking her, so how did you like Sutton's party? How did you like the girls? And she says, it was nice, but with this thing with you and Kyle, Dorit, I mean, like, I knew about it because Sutton and I spoke about it before. And they show a flashback to when Sutton, I guess, was over at Bozma's house telling her about what to expect with the girls. And she was like, I just wasn't expecting it to be all of that. Now, she told me it was going to be awkward, but not y'all getting fiery like that. And Dorit pretty much says that, like, I expected it, but I didn't expect it. So then Bozma is like, so what's the issue between y'all? And she's like, honestly, I don't know, because every time I talk to her about it, it's something different. It just feels like there's a different set of rules for me when it comes to her, just like there's a different set of rules for her when it comes to everybody else. So they go through and show all the reasons why Kyle has mentioned why she's upset with Dorit. The first one was her talking about her marriage, or bringing up her marriage on camera at the reunion. The second one was when she said, you jumped into my conversation with Kathy at the last reunion. And then the third time is her bringing up Watch What Happens Live. And ultimately, she don't know what Kyle's mad at her for. She just feels like Kyle just wants a reason to be mad at her, and she's grasping at straws. And I would have to agree. I think where it started for Kyle was Dorit trying to get Kyle to understand Kathy's side at the reunion, and not just having her back right then and there, when it doesn't even seem like Dorit was picking a side. I think Dorit was trying to get Kyle to understand, like, listen to your sister. But When I tell you the Richard sisters relationship is so like toxic and they seem to suck everybody else into it, that if I was any like friends to Kyle, Kathy, or Kim, I would never want to hear about their family drama, because I'm the type of person, you give me tea or you're discussing something with me, I'm going to give you my opinion. Unless you tell me, hey, I just want you to listen, then I'll listen. But if we're talking, girl, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to discuss what's going on. So then Erica says in her confessional, it's kind of crazy that like PK or Mauricio are living their best lives while Dorit and Kyle are in each other's faces. And I feel like that's because they don't have nobody else that they can like be mad at. It's like you're mad that your marriages aren't where they need to be. Your friendship already had cracks in it. So it's like, since I can't really argue with my husband the way I want to, because I still might really love this man, then I'm gonna argue with my friend. So then it flips back over to Sutton and Kyle, and Sutton is like, so what's up with you and Dorit? Because I didn't get the whole gist of the part of the, like, you know, the fight at my party. And Kyle pretty much says that she's just like, Dorit just doesn't listen. She doesn't listen, and she's not self-aware, and it's like nobody else's feelings matter but hers. And I'm like, the same could be for you too, girl. Like, honestly, Dorit and Kyle are more alike than they think they are different from each other. It's just different levels. Because we've seen Dorit be self-centered and make fights with people out of nowhere and all of that stuff. Just like we've seen Kyle do it multiple and many times. It's just, like I said, different levels. So then we go back to Bozma, Erica, and Dorit. And Erica basically, you know, she drinking because she don't want to say nothing, but then she was like, you know what, I got to say something. She was like, I hate it because I understand both sides of where both ladies are coming from, and I just want them to find a place where they can get back to being cool because I know they love each other. So then they start asking Dorit about her situation with PK, and she was like, honestly, when it comes to the kids, not much has changed. When PK was drinking and they would get into fights, he would leave at weeks at a time, and I would just tell the children he's at work. And so Bose is like, girl, what? For real? And she's like, yeah. And so then Bozeman ends up asking her, like, do you think y'all can reconcile now that, like, you know, he clean and whatnot? And Dorit's like, never say never. She was like, I always think that there's a point where we could reconcile, but I don't know if that will ever happen anytime soon. So we get this scene at Sutton's house with Avi. I like him. Like, I like how he pretty much be he be checking Sutton. Like, they were trying to unthaw like pizza sauce because Sutton has these pizza making kits. And she was like, well, it says you're supposed to keep it like refrigerated. And he's like, well, girl, it's frozen. So he was putting them in the microwave to like defrost them. And she was like, now it's hot. And he's like, no, it's not. It's still cold. He tickles me. I like him. And you can tell Avi done lost some weight and he looks really good. He looks really good. So we find out that Sutton called Kathy because she was like, hey, I think we should do like a surprise pop-up on Kyle. Last time I spoke to her, she seemed pretty down, and I just think that it would be nice if we all came together and just, like, you know, rally behind her. So Kathy ends up being like, well, let's do like a pizza pajama party. So we see Erica pull up to Sutton's house. Mind you, Erica got on a cat sweater and jeans. And all I can think about is Sutton cat sweater. I was like, girl, did you put that on just to mess with Sutton? But she looked cute. So they're like waiting for Kathy. Kathy gonna walk into the house. Like, at least Erica knocked and waited for the door to be open. Kathy just walked in. So while they're standing there, like in the kitchen, getting ready to like pack everything to go to Kyle's house, you have Sutton telling Erica and Kathy about what Kyle told her when they went out to eat, that pretty much Mauricio changed a picture in his office that was of him and her and put it with his Dancing with the Stars partner. And so both Kathy and Erica are like shocked, like, oh my God, how dare he? He really did that to her. And They were like, why would he do something like that? Kathy's like, it's one thing to take the pictures down. It's another thing to put the pictures up. And she was like, that makes a statement. So Erica in her confessional was like, well, Tom used to have his pictures of his mistresses, in the drawer in his desk. So I can't really talk. But I'm trying to figure out how much I believe this story, because when the season opened up, Kyle said that Mauricio and Sophia moved out around the same time. So when did he have time to change the pictures, as well as what office did he change the pictures? Like, did he do it at his actual office at his firm, or did he do it at the house? Because I don't feel like he did it at the house if he ain't been there for like months. That I said, I don't know, girl. I feel like Kyle she wants sympathy. Payola and sympathy, okay? So before we get to the next part, one thing I don't appreciate and that doesn't make sense to me is Kathy Hilton has too much mother effing money not to have foundation that matches her skin. When I tell you that lady was actually looking like Leatherface, her face looks like the dummy that Dwight cut the face off of on The Office. Like every time they panned to Kathy's face while she was in Sutton's kitchen, and then when they were sitting down in Kyle's house, you could see the line of demarcation between her skin and the foundation. Like if they were going to put this foundation on Kathy, I was like, bleed it into her hairline or on her neck, because it looks a mess. It looks a mess. So they're in the car heading to Kyle's place. You got Kathy trying to pretend to be an Amazon worker, being like, hello, this is Amazon. Because Kyle has a gate, in order to be let into her house, you got to like open up the gate. And so they successfully surprise Kyle. She's really shocked that they're at the house. They have like a cute scene of all of them making pizza together, drinking and laughing. And then they were like, well, we wanted to come by and surprise you because you just seemed so down after, Sutton's like, you just seemed down after we had our conversation. So I just wanted to make sure you were okay. And she's just like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just like when I look at our wedding pictures, we were so young. And she was like, I think Kyle's like, we were 23 and 22, or like 23 and 24. And it's crazy. So then Kathy, trying to shade Mauricio, was like, Mo actually looks worse. Like he's aged, Kyle. Like you look like you could be one of his daughters. And that didn't rub Kyle the best way, because she had a face like, girl, don't talk about my man. Like me and you just got cool. Don't talk about my husband like that. And she was just like, no. And I was like, Kathy, Mauricio is not an unattractive man. Like that is a fine older man. Like even though I think his like workout pictures are cringy, but it's dad cringy, it's just like, it's still given he's still fine and he still got it. Okay. So then we see Kathy in her own confessional talking about how like Mauricio just needs to move on. Last time I heard something about him was he was talking about Hilton and Highland. And I'm like, no, he wasn't. I did not watch that Selling Beverly Hills show on Netflix, but I did see the clips of what Kathy is talking about. And when Paris Hilton came out, she sounded stupid trying to like check Mauricio, because if you watch the clip or the clips, he was basically just giving his experience about why he left the company. And I agree with Mauricio on why he left the company. He wanted a raise from them after garnering so much money that year for Hilton and Highland, and they played in his face and basically said that like, we not giving you one. So he decided, hey, if y'all not gonna give me a raise, then I'm gonna go make my own company. And I was like, as he should. And they always talk about like how he stole clients, but I'm like, did he really steal clients, or did the people that he garnered a relationship with that you did not value in him decided like, well, hey, if he leaving, I'm going over there because I like doing business with him? You have to think about that when you don't give people you care about, well, not care about, when you don't get your employees raises when you know they've done good work for you. So I was like, shut up, Kathy, because I'm definitely on Mauricio's side when it comes to the whole Kathy versus Mauricio. So Sutton ends up being like, you know what, Kyle, you definitely need to get a poker face. I needed one in my divorce because honestly, girl, I was like a deer caught in headlights when it came to my divorce. And Erica could probably like had the same situation. And Erica's like, yeah, I wish I wasn't so trusting. That's the thing. So she was like, you definitely need to have your eyes open. And Kyle kind of gets emotional. And she's just like, I don't think we're going to have this contentious divorce that everybody thinks or wants us to have and this and that. And I was like, no, I don't think anybody wants y'all's divorce to be contentious. I just think people want you to be smart about the decisions that you are making for your life, girl. That's it. That's all. So they leave her house. Sutton ends up asking her, is it weird that that's still there? And it was pointing to Mauricio's office. And she's like, yeah. And Sutton's like, well, have a nice night. And then they leave. So the last scene is of PK and Dorit meeting up. And we see them sitting down at this restaurant. PK even stands up so Dorit can see his outfit. You could definitely tell that PK feeling his zhuzh. He done lost some weight. His silver hair is more silvery. He got a whole new wardrobe. Like he feeling his zhuzh right about now. So he sits back down. Dorita's kind of like taken aback by his energy. And he basically tells her, girl, we were not in a good place. He was like, I didn't know how badly the disease of, alcoholism had gotten a hold of me, He was just like, the way that we speak to each other isn't right. Like, we are disgusting to one another. If we talk to each other the way like we do to the waiter, we would be kicked out. And mind you, that waiter was trying to get his scream time. The way he was leaning on that that couch trying to get them angles. I said, okay. He also explains to her, like, girl, I did everything you asked me to do, which was getting sober, and you have done nothing of what I've asked you to do. And she's like, you really don't feel that way? He was like, no, because you don't listen. And what I think it is altogether is, I don't know if PK's drinking was always an issue, and, he became resentful because of the switch in positions for them. Like, PK was the household name, and Dorit now is the household name, and his ego couldn't take it because he brings up the whole thing about, like, you are my shadow. We were going out all the time and everything, and then you prioritize the kids over me. Now, I've always heard that the way a marriage should go is your spouse, then your kids, because once the kids are gone, you just are left with your spouse. So that relationship needs to be solid. But I do think that it's like a balancing act. Like it shifts. Like your kids are still, like, I think he said they're 10 and 8. By the time they reach high school, I would think the shift would be back to you two being like the main focus. But you can't fault Dorit for like wanting to invest more time into her children. Also, I'm just like, PK, I just feel like you just need to be honest and be like, girl, I got sober and I realized this ain't the life I want to live. I mean, I feel like maybe he was trying to tell her that, but Dorit wasn't really getting it because she was just like, okay, I've never heard you tell me how you're feeling about me. Like, you always say I emasculate you and all of that stuff, but I've never heard you say it so calmly. It's throughout us screaming, but this is the first time I'm hearing it in this way, so I can take it in. And, he was like, well, I want to let you know, you always going to be in my life. You're the mother of my kids. And anytime you need me, I'm going to be there. But we got to stop this codependent relationship. She was like, we talk 5 times a day. He was like, well, yeah, that's going to lessen. And I feel like, Dorit, girl, that was your sign that he don't want this no more. He done got sober, done got his life, I guess, somewhat in order, and he don't want this anymore. And I mean, it is what it is at this point. I feel like both these situations with Kyle and Dorit is kind of weird because on one hand, if I believe that Dorit is telling the truth, because y'all know I feel like Dorit is good for giving us a fake storyline, then it is kind of sad that she believes that this separation was going to bring them closer, or in a way of like them building on themselves and then coming back together. But you got PK sitting here being like, girl, I don't want this no more. I'm good. I'm cool on this. Like, we can, separate amicably and go on about our lives. But she seems like she still wants to be with him. And I mean, even if they break up, PK will find another young girl to, be with. And Dorit is still pretty enough where she could find a man of means and be happy. When it comes to Kyle and Mauricio, it feels weird because I feel like Kyle's separated with Mauricio, not understanding what all of that entails. Like, she's dragging her feet with the divorce. And it's like, well, girl, if y'all aren't actively working on your relationship, then what did you expect the next step to be? Do you just want to be married but like living apart and like having other lives together? Or do you want to get back together with him? It's not computing with me based off of what both these women want. it ultimately feels like Kyle made a rash decision with no thought in it. And Dorit might genuinely want PK back, but he like, girl, I'm sober and I'm clean. I don't know if I want this. I'm good on you, girl. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. And as always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below and share your thoughts, as well as give me a like and subscribe if you like what you heard. And happy holidays, y'all. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.